Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. So can you name the 5 freedoms guaranteed in the First Amendment?
Freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of press, the freedom to bear arms. I don't
The Second Amendment, but
Close, good.
I think that's about all I can do.
I know I can name 4 for sure.
okay.
Freedom of speech, freedom of assembly, freedom of press, freedom of religion. And the 5th one always eludes me.
Freedom of speech.
Religion, press, petition, speech, and
Right to bear arms.
no. Do I have 4 of them, right?
You do have 4.
Religion, press, petition, speech. Oh,
We
man.
just talked about this yesterday. Can you give us a hint, or is that not allowed?
You guys are doing it right now.
Oh!
Petition.
Ask him.
Assembly.
Yes.
Yes.
Good job. Good job. Can you name 5?
Freedom of speech. Freedom to bear arms. No.
What else? Speech? Anything else?
Freedom of speech. Open gathering. There's a gathering one in there.
What kind of that?
I'm pretty sure they're guaranteed. I don't have to worry about them.
So what do these freedoms mean to you, especially as a student here on campus?
Means I have the freedom to say what I want and that the government cannot put restrictions on my beliefs or what I practice or what I choose to express.
What does the First Amendment mean to you? Do you think it's important?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty important. I guess I'm a religious person, you know. So without freedom of religion, I wouldn't be able to practice what I practice, I guess.
Hi, I'm Noah Ballard. I am a junior English major, and I am the assistant features editor and a columnist for the Daily Nebraskan. Okay.
So what do these freedoms mean to you, especially working here for the newspaper?
Well, freedom to be in the press and write what we want is important, along with freedom of speech. I know I probably couldn't get away with a lot of the things I write if I didn't have that right as a writer. Let's see if I can fit the word right into a sentence one more time.
Have you ever come into conflict over your First Amendment rights writing here at the DN?
No, I mean, not necessarily my First Amendment rights, but definitely people... Actually, no, that's not true. I got, last semester, the editor-in-chief, Hillary, got an email saying that a student group was being formed to petition my writing and working here at the Daily Nebraskan, to which I said, bring it on, and then nothing else sort of came of that. But that guy was really angry because I wrote about something offensive. It was like, you know, sex or drugs or something that people didn't agree. I got some heat about that. People didn't think I should be writing about that. But I will continue. First Amendment, man.
My name is Jonna Jersman. I'm a senior news editorial major, and I copy edit at the Daily Nebraskan and also write a sex column.
What importance does the First Amendment play in your life?
Well, the topics that I write about are pretty risque as far as Nebraska goes. I don't know. I mean, it's a pretty conservative state, conservative morals. People don't really talk about sex, so I feel like the First Amendment is definitely helping me, because if it wasn't there, people might be like, oh, you can't talk about sex, it's so offensive or whatever. So it is, I guess it's important. I get to write about some, I think, important topics and bring them to attention to people, and maybe help bring about conversation and bring these topics into light, whereas people might be too scared to talk about them. So maybe if I write about them, then they'll feel more comfortable confronting them themselves, I hope.
Okay, I'm Scott Winter. I'm assistant professor and recruiter. I teach classes in news editorial.
First Amendment mean to you?
It means to me, well, it's my livelihood for one thing. I'm a journalism professor and my wife is a watchdog reporter for the Lincoln Journal-Star. So without the First Amendment, neither of us could do what we do. I think the reasons I got into journalism was about giving voice to the voiceless and having the guts to go up against big money, corporations, government, things like that, and be able to tell truth and not face negative consequences for telling truth. So to me, it's the foundation of not only how I feed my family, but it's also the foundation of what I teach, what I preach.
So why do you think, as a professor, it's important to instill that freedom of the press in your students?
I don't know. You know, I teach the first level classes, the one-on-one class, and it's good to expose them to that. It's not until I get to my mass media and society class on the senior level when I think they really act on it and understand it. But to be honest with you, I never really understood the First Amendment or its significance until I taught overseas in countries like Ethiopia and Kosovo, where they don't have a full-fledged First Amendment, or they do, but they don't have support of the government for it. And that's when I really understood First Amendment issues.
Have you ever come into conflict with the government or anyone else and your right to freedom of press in your job?
Of course. When I was an editor, I'll give you one example. When I was an editor, I had a reporter working on a silly little story about how a woman found a lizard in her head of lettuce. When she opened it, took it home, was making a salad, a lizard came out of it. And she called us and we were doing this little story on it, a cute little story, and the produce manager said, wow, sometimes lizards get in the crates, that's what happens. And eventually the publisher and editor nixed the story because that grocery store was our biggest advertiser. So I ran into it in the private sector. In the public sector, I used to be a high school journalism advisor, and we had principals, school board members, superintendents who weren't happy with some of the stuff we did. Got threatened a couple times, threatened with lawsuits, but ultimately we printed truth and we never got sued or anything like that. On a collegiate level, we faced pressure from the university, from the athletic department, people upset about the stories we told, but we had the First Amendment behind us so we could be confident that we were doing the right thing. So yeah, I run into it all the time, and I think if you're a mass communicator, particularly a journalist, broadcaster, news ed, and if you're doing your job well, you should be running into First Amendment situations left and right, ethical dilemmas, and if you have the First Amendment on your side, you should feel pretty good about what you're doing. If it never comes up, then you're probably not doing your job.
Okay, my name is John Bender. I'm a professor in the College of Journalism and Mass Communications. I teach mass media law, reporting, and some graduate courses, including a graduate seminar on media law.
So what do you think is the importance of the First Amendment and the freedoms guaranteed in it?
Well, they're fundamental to the operation of democracy. We can't have a democratic system or a system of self-government unless there is freedom of speech, freedom of the press. Otherwise, people would be unable to discuss the issues that are before them, to make decisions, and to govern their own lives.
The Constitution is a living document that even affects the lives of college students. So use your freedoms to practice what you believe, to say what you think, to write what you want, to gather with others, and to make your opinions known to the government. Believe, speak, but above all, express yourself.